All right. So what up? We love hip hop here with AGB. My first interview doing for someone. I'm out of Montreal, so hopefully it goes blessed. I'm here with A1Gento. How you doing, bro?
What's good, brother? I'm definitely I'm doing good, and I'm definitely happy to be on the show, man. Thank you for having me.
No worries, fam. You were one of the first people who came to mind, you know. I know we don't know each other too well, but we got a lot of mutual friends and shit like that. So, you know, I didn't want to take one of these drill rappers that was going to like flake on me for the first one. So I wanted someone I could probably rely on, you know.
For sure. But you know, in Montreal, we know who Alex Get Bandz is, so
it's been a while. But yo, so I got your name right. You're going with A1Gento now, right? Because it was Argento back in the day, like.
Back in the day, it was known as Argento, and prior to that, had some other names too. But A1Gento has been the names for the past couple years, and it's what we're sticking with.
Well, that one's good. It comes up high in the YouTube. Like you get all, like when you put it in, it's right there in the YouTube, like the first one. So it's always good. All right, bro. So let's get into it a little bit. I got some questions for you. Try and dig a little deep here. So first off, like I want to start off with your story. Like I know you've done a lot of big things. We're going to get into that, but I want to start with like where you started out with rapping, how that started, like your very beginnings, like with all that, and we'll take it from there. So how'd you first start rapping? Like your first spitting bars, how did that go?
All right. So this is actually a great story. I love telling this story because it's actually thanks to my older brother. So I come from a family of 4 siblings. I'm the youngest out of all of them. I got an older brother and 2 older sisters. Me and my brother are only 16 months apart, so we're really tight. And you know, before I ever really got into music, well, I've always been, you know, a musically inclined person from the very beginning. You know, I come from a family of musicians too. But when it comes to rapping, I was never really involved until my brother, he started rapping a little bit. And he would kind of tease me with it. You know, he would wake me up in the middle of the night while I'm dead asleep. He would come into my room and just start freestyling, but he'd be dissing me while I'm sleeping in my bed. So he'd force me to wake up, and you know, I'm not just gonna sit there and let my brother talk all that shit. So, you know, I would freestyle back, and then that's pretty much how it all started. You know, it all started with you know, just some brotherly love and just not taking shit from nobody.
Well, listen, fam, that's a pretty lit way to start out, you know? Like, my story's not as interesting. I just, you know, like I just kind of started, so I don't really have anything good behind it, but no, it's a blessed story. All right, so that's how you started. So how did you start releasing music? Like, what made you release your first song? Because I know it's a big step. A lot of people rap, but not a lot of people go from rapping to taking that step to actually releasing music. Because you're really putting yourself out there when you do it. So what was your motivation behind that, and sort of how did that go?
So, so after all this freestyling with my brother, you know, it kind of evolved into like, you know, freestyling with the boys when we're having a drink or a smoke or just chilling. And it just kind of, from that, you know, the art of like freestyling and just making music on the spot really became my passion. And it only later on developed into like a passion for songwriting and composition and actually like creating a record that's not just a freestyle. So I'd say like what really pushed me into starting to do music like a little bit more professionally and recording myself and everything was one time at school, there was like a variety show, and a bunch of my friends just convinced me to go do it. And so I went up there and freestyled, and I kind of botched it. You know, I kind of fucked up, froze up a little bit. And that just made me like say to myself, like, if I want to be a performer, I'm going to have to step it up a little bit. So, you know, I was nervous. It was my first time on like a stage. And I was pretty young. I was like 15 at this time. And then I just said, you know what, like, let's try to do this a little bit more seriously, since I started really like enjoying the craft itself. So then I started, you know, looking into how I can set up a little home studio. I started going to see people who I knew who had studios already and just kind of dove in from there.
That's dope, bro, for sure. So, so yeah, do you remember what your first song was called, or don't remember? I know you released a lot of music.
Man, the thing is, like, I've released a lot of music, and most of it is taken down now. Because I'm gonna be putting out new stuff, and just wanted to clear the old shit. My first song that I ever released, though, I remember it was when I was called. My name was Gabriel at the time, and yeah, that was a decade ago. So that my first track that I released under that name was called Cold War.
I probably heard that at some point. I probably heard that. I know the first time.
If you see the video of that track, you won't recognize me.
I don't know. I know the first thing I seen from you was the video where, I'm not going to say his name, but you're at that party at that person's house in Senville at that mansion. And I think you performed or something and you shot a video. Yeah, that was like the first time I seen it. My cousin Sean shared it or something and I seen it. I was like, oh, that's dope. Like someone from out here. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
What was that song called?
That song was actually called In Montreal, and it was like a remix of like a Blink-182 song. And that was a lit party. That was a sick night.
I bet. I got a lot of flack for not being there that night for people, bro. All right. So that's awesome, bro. All right. So I wanted to ask you, obviously early on you signed with, like, was it Cash Money Rich Gang? I know it was with Birdman or something. I've heard a lot. I don't know the exact details. How'd that go? How'd you? Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I was signed to Cash Money or Rich Gang. I was more working with them under like a development deal, artist development deal. So I was doing a lot of projects with them when it comes to songwriting and production. And then, you know, on the side, we were producing stuff for A1Gento at the time. And that was basically, that all happened when I was putting out music at that time. And one of my close friends now, he hit me up back then when we still weren't that tight. And now he's like one of my best friends, but he hit me up and he said, and shout out Stally, by the way. So
I know I used to listen to his music back in the day, like NEG and all that stuff, like a lot. There you go. So yeah. That's a throwback, but yeah.
For sure. So Stallion, that's Montreal, you know, hometown hero, hood famous, as they say. But he hit me up one day and he's like, yo, I really fuck with your music. You know, I know these guys in Toronto. They're basically the A&R for Cash Money. And at the time I was under management actually with Lupo One. So my manager was Vito Luprano. He executive produced and was the VP for Sony Canada for 30 years, but he was Celine Dion's executive producer for like 25, 30 years. So he was definitely, he's a whale in the game. He has connections everywhere. Super smart guy, super awesome guy. Shout out Vito. And yeah, so Style basically put the pieces together for that, ended up going to meet these guys in Miami. And then after one studio session, it was just a wrap. We just got straight to work.
That's crazy. So what was the feeling of that like back then? Because like we're thinking how long ago this was, bro. There wasn't many people, especially in English, even rapping in Montreal at the time. There was some. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say there was none, but there was very few, especially on the English side. So how did it feel? Because, like, I don't feel like there's anybody else in that type of opportunity other than, you know, your group that you were in. So what was that like?
For sure. I mean, it always felt, you know, good knowing that, you know, I'm making some sort of progress with the music since, like, nobody, especially being from Montreal, like nobody ever thinks you're going to make it somewhere. You know, family had a certain opinion about like being a rapper and getting tattoos and all that. And just like peers and people around me, you know, people say, oh, you're a rapper. It kind of, you know, chuckle a little bit at first.
Yeah, we've all dealt with that.
Yeah. So it's just the struggle of being an artist. Right. But, you know, something that really that helped with everything was really, I had the song on the radio. So that already, like, I had one track that did radio across Canada, and I toured across Canada. And this was prior to receiving like the call from Cash Money.
Was that track? I might be wrong. I remember you did a track with some girl singer that was like big, and y'all were like in a car, like with no roof. I vaguely remember that video. I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't one of my favorites. It was more of like a female type song. It was good. It was that one?
Super like Canadian pop radio song.
Perfect
that song.
Radio. So, I remember that. What was that song called? That's not out anymore, is it?
I mean, you can probably find it on YouTube if you look really hard. It's called Where the Sun Don't Shine. And I'm just a feature on the song with, and the main artist is Christina Maria. So she really had a great run in Canada, probably toured the country like multiple times. And I was actually brought onto one of her tours as well. And it was such a great time. And, that song did a lot of streaming in Canada. So it gave me a little bit of credit, So
yeah, for sure. It was big. It got a lot of views, especially for the time, like, and to get radio play like that. Like, I remember hearing it on the radio for sure. 94.7 and all that.
I was 18 at the time, and it was just surreal. It was just mind blowing. And then, it's just to go from there and then to be working out of Florida with like Rich Gang and Birdman, it was just really honestly a blessing, and to be so young to be doing it too. And, it was just honestly like, this is a blessing for real.
Okay. So, I know one of the problems in Montreal, especially for English rappers, one of the biggest problems is it's hard to get connections. You know what I'm saying? You can get a little bit in Toronto and like the rest of Canada, but it's hard to get connections into the US, into stuff like that. So I think, with what you're saying, one of the big things you've had is you've been able to get connections that other people haven't, and that's helped you a lot, right?
For sure. Well, yeah. So if you look at the music scene in Montreal and Quebec, just the whole entertainment industry in Quebec, it's very focused on just French entertainment. So if you're looking to get good publicity, you should be a French artist. You have a way better chance of getting any sort of publicity. There are exceptions, however, but definitely the best move I made as an artist and as an individual was just leaving the country and going to places where there's a lot more connections to be made, a lot more people to meet, hands to shake. And, doing that, you grow as a person, and you also build amazing networks with people that, I've met people 10 years ago from my travels to the States that I'm still in contact with every day, and we're building. So definitely was blessed to have that opportunity too, to just leave and sort of see what else is out there, instead of just trying to be that kid that was just here like, yeah, I'm going to take over Montreal. I'm like, forget about all that, And they say it, I don't know the saying exactly, but they say like only once you leave your hometown, you'll start getting hometown love. So I feel like that was really true too. Like nobody really, quote unquote, believed in me before I like left and started doing things outside of Montreal. And then people say, okay, now he's international, he's doing something. So,
well, I definitely agree. Like you had to kind of force it with people, because like I know how it is, especially not even just Montreal, being from the West Island, like the English more part of Montreal. Like, bro, people love to hate. They really do. Like, yeah. I hear other places say that, but it's like, it's not like here. It's not like crazy hate, like they're going to come try and kill you. But like, you know how many rappers I see, excited because their track after 7 years hit 1,000 views. And I'm just like, you shouldn't be posting that, like stuff like that. Like, and then they'll go say like, whatever about everybody else. And like, it's just like, bro, like your track has 700 views when you're asking for $500 features. Like nobody's hitting you up, So it's just like, I find a lot of people in the city aren't realistic about stuff. So like, I got to give you credit for definitely finding those connections and just, whatever you did to figure out all those things, you found yourself in the right places and, let the cards fell and, they fell in the right places. But so what other big artists, have you worked with? Like, what have been the biggest artists you've worked with? And I'm not just saying like, I'm saying in all aspects, because I've seen your Instagram, so I know like I've seen you around a few artists. Like I've seen you in the car with Waka Flocka. I've seen you around the Nelk Boys, around Little Dirk at that. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I seen that, talking about your NFTs and all that. So, give us some of the names of the people you've been around, some of the people who you have, good stories with, whatever you want to go into for that sort of thing.
For sure. So
shout out to our sponsors, Astro Pink, always coming with that loud. Check them out on their website, myastropink.com, or you can hit them up on Instagram at astro_pink. If you know, you know.
I mean, it all started off with music, right? So that was pretty much the stepping stone into just generally the whole entertainment industry. And so I've been blessed to make the connections that I have. And through my connections with music, of course, like my last release, it was like 2-3 years ago at this point, was my song with YNW Melly. So that was definitely my biggest feature that I've ever had on one of my own records. Free Melly for sure, is gang for life. Yeah.
We need some more of his music.
For sure, man. But it's definitely
good music, bro.
Man, he's really, honestly, out of all the people that I've worked with in studio, I think Melly was one of the most talented. Honestly, like
he's really talented for sure. How'd you meet him?
Man, that's another story. I mean, I met Melly through one of my co-managers at the time. So at that time, I was being managed by Stali and this other guy, Ben Lulu. And Ben Lulu had this big mansion in Miami where all the influencers were living. So you had like Supreme Patty, Daddy Longneck, what's his face? Fucking Dan. I forget his name. But anyways, there was a bunch of...
Didn't they have that wide neck guy?
Yeah, wide neck. They had all of them. All these guys, they were all living in this one mansion. And one day I flew into Miami, so I was staying there too. And then Melly just ended up pulling up to the crib. And at the time, I had no idea who Melly was. I had no idea he had a song with a few million views already. And so we were just kicking it. We kind of kicked it just as friends at the beginning. We caught a vibe, so we went out to the car. I had a sick rental. I had the Brabus G-Wagon. And so I let Melly drive, and we took a drive around the city, and I started playing him my songs. And then he's like, "Oh shit, you're an artist." And I was like, yeah, this is me right here. And then from there, he was just like, "Yo, that's sick. We should hit the studio." And I still didn't know who Melly was until we got back to the crib. And I was like, "Yo, show me some of your music." And then he showed me the Murder on My Mind music video and everything else that he had. And I was just like, let's go to the studio, man. So we ended up going like that night. And I called up Jay Mali, who's a huge Cuban artist based out of Miami. One of the most, honestly, like most humble, down to earth guys that I've met. Super chill and super talented as well. And so I just figured like, yo, we can make a crazy international cross borders track from Canada to the US to Cuba. And that's what we did. And that was Miami Vibe. And that's kind of what the whole song is about. It's just everyone from all over the world goes to Miami. You're catching the Miami vibe for sure.
That's crazy. So what cities would you say are like the best, like obviously I know you've been all over the US, so you have kind of a taste of what cities out there are the best ones to go to. So if someone's looking for a career in like social media or, hip hop in general, where would you tell them to go? Like, would you say like Atlanta, Miami, LA? What do you think?
Music wise, hip hop music wise, I would say Miami is super, super hot. Miami and LA super hot. If you're talking like social media, I'd probably say like San Francisco or something where all the tech giants are. But yeah, I say Miami too, just because I've kind of like nested myself there, and I already have I just know what's good in Miami. So I know like when you're there, there's so many amazing studios and so many talented producers to work with. Some of the world's best engineers are right there.
Yeah.
So definitely for me, I would say Miami was definitely the top pick. Like if I got to go anywhere in the world to work on music, I'm probably going to be in Miami.
Well, bro, it sounds like you definitely ended up in the right place, you know?
For sure.
So since, you know, this is a Toronto-based network, I got to ask you about the Nelk Boys a little more in detail. You don't got to go crazy.
What up, fam? To everybody in Toronto, what up? Big things are going. You already know, straight out the 514, man.
So when you met them, like, explain to me that experience.
For Nelk Boys, that was definitely a very, very lit day. Very fun time. We had back-to-back yachts, super yachts in Miami, crazy 100-footer yachts. One of the yachts had like a full club in it. And the reason why I linked up with the Nelk Boys is because this goes back to what I was saying earlier and how music was the first stepping stone into the entertainment industry. So I went from music into like Web3 and blockchain. So we're working on an NFT collection with Lil Durk called Next Gens. So we're still working on it. It's going to be a very, very sick project. Basically, we're doing digital sneakers for the metaverse, and we're also doing NFTs that give you access to be able to claim a real physical pair of shoes. So it's super limited edition, super exclusive. And Nelk Boys, they were doing the interview with Lil Durk. And since Lil Durk, you know, he's one of the founders of the project, they actually brought me on board onto the podcast too, to talk about the project and just elaborate a little bit, since Lil Durk he at the time he was educated on Web3, but you know, he needed just a little bit of assistance to get into the nitty gritty, into the details about the project and what the main goals are and everything. So they brought me on to explain. But that whole day with the Nelk Boys, I was chilling with them all day on the yachts. They're super, super cool guys. And we literally partied for a few hours, and it was super fun. And that was the same. Like during the day we were partying and I was shooting my video for Ball Harbor that just dropped yesterday.
Yeah, you just released that. I seen that. I was going to ask you about that.
So that dropped on Sunday, and surprisingly it's doing pretty well for someone who hasn't dropped music in like 3 years. But that during the day was the video shoot for that, and just chilling with the Nelk Boys, building the connection. And then later on that night, we ended up going to another yacht, like a completely different yacht that was parked outside of like a crazy mansion somewhere in Miami, on one of the islands. And that's where we had the Full Send podcast interview, and that shit got like 4 million views on YouTube. So that was sick.
Yeah, that was a big podcast, man.
Yeah, no, it was definitely exciting to be on that. I mean, full disclosure, I was high as shit during that whole podcast. I smoked a blunt like literally 30 seconds before they called me up. And the thing is like at that point, like an hour went by in the podcast. So I didn't think they were going to call me up at all. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go smoke a blunt in the front of the boat with some of Dirk's boys. And I didn't smoke or drink the whole day. Like the whole day, I was like, I'm going to be A1 for this podcast. And then right before, I end up smoking a backwood. And if anyone who knows me, like, yo, backwoods will put me on my ass real quick. So, yeah, I was high as shit during that whole interview. But thankfully, it turned out well. And, we got the message across. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think it came out blessed for sure, fam. For sure. So let's go in a little deeper quickly. We don't have to do it for too long, but into NFTs and, into crypto and all that stuff. I know you're big into it. Do you have any advice for people who want to like start out on that, sort of like how it works if someone like, is coming at it where they don't know too much about it? Because I know it's a good place if people, with all the inflation and stuff going on, if they want to put their money in a place where it could work a little more for them. How do you think they could do that with NFTs and crypto? What do you think is the best bet for someone starting out?
So the best piece of advice that I can give, it's going to sound super plain, but it is the best piece of advice I can give to anybody that wants to learn about any sort of investments, and crypto and NFTs being a super huge like fad right now. But I think it's more than a fad. It's going to, define the future of transactions pretty shortly. But the best piece of advice I can give to anybody is just do your own research. Do your own research before making any financial commitment on anything. Look into the projects, look into the founders, look into the whole community, and make your decision based on facts. Don't get sucked in by the hype, because that's how you end up getting rugged.
Well, I feel like as far as NFTs go, because, crypto's been around, it's been big for longer, so it's a little more, down the road. But with NFTs, I find like everything that's going on, I honestly, the way I look at it is 90% of it is probably going to be worth nothing at the end of the day. But that 10%, if you're in that right 10% that's worth something, it's going to be worth a lot,
No, absolutely. So, yeah, they say, 99% of the projects are going to fail. And that's because there's no real utility behind these digital assets that people are holding on to. If there's no physical or even a digital utility, if it's just like a pretty picture that you're selling, it's one way of selling art. But, is it going to retain its value if you're not a super famous artist? Probably not. So look into projects that have good utility, like any sort of membership or something that you can use, or just the community. If this community is strong and is die hard, they're going to do everything to keep the project alive and prospering. So again, it's just do your research on everything that, like, before you invest in anything in life, just do your research on it. You don't want to waste money.
Yeah. Well, and I think with what you're doing, with what you said, that there's actually a way, from the NFT to be able to get a physical shoe. I think that goes a long way. Because we're still at the point where it's like merging NFTs and that sort of stuff and bringing it to normalize it to people. And I think people, when they can actually get something physical with it too, are more likely to trust it. And it's like, at the end of the day, if nothing else works out, they still got those shoes and they were still able to do that. And those are going to have value, So it's it's kind of protecting yourself both ways. So I think that, that's really smart. And it definitely, to have, names like the Nelk Boys and Little Dirk associated with it are definitely good. I mean, I know a lot of famous people have used that sort of stuff to scam people, but, with what you're doing, it sounds like, it's pretty legit, and it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense to me. If the shoes look hype, and it's like a reasonable, price, I'd probably fucking do it. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. The shoes are crazy. And, people, they can't even say that we're a rug pull or we're trying to scam anyone, because look, the Nelk Boys video, we dropped it in March or something like that. So that was a few months ago, and we still haven't released anything. So it's not like we're here give us your money. We're building a solid foundation. We're building solid utility around the game, the shoes. We got a game coming out too with it. So we're really trying to take it to the next level and show people what NFTs and the blockchain technology is really all about. But with that being said, blockchain and music are two things that I've passionate about. And another thing I'm super blessed and grateful for is that they both intertwined and brought us here. So you mentioned before Waka Flocka. So Waka Flocka is a partner in another company that I deal with in the Web3 space. So music and blockchain it's the future, honestly.
And what's the other company you're dealing with? You want to talk about that at all, or?
It's a marketplace, but yeah, we'll go into details on that another time. I think we've spoken a lot on the NFTs and on We Love Hip Hop.
For sure. All right, so let's go back to music. All right. So when you make music, I know we talked a little bit before, sort of how you came up. So when you record music now, what's your process? Are you a writer? Do you freestyle? How do you write? What's your process? You like to be alone in the studio? You like to be with a bunch of people? What's your process?
It depends. Normally, I got my studio set up right here, right next to me. I got my Avalon, my auto tune box. So I like to Most of the time I like to work on music when I'm solo and I'm just can catch a vibe by myself late night and just do my thing without, being in the studio or having somebody else there who's getting tired or whatever, because I can go for days. And so like preferably like I like to be in my zone, but then of course there's other times where I prefer being in a studio with a few friends, blasting beats, just running them, in the booth, maybe a little bit tipsy and on a vibe, and just going in the booth and just freestyling and having the engineer just punch me in. So, at the end of the day, I'm just making music whichever way fits the vibe of that day, that hour, that substance that I'm currently tripping on.
Yeah, well, I think like where you said the vibe, like I think that does a lot with music. Like it's like the same thing. Like I have all my recording stuff here. I don't really release music anymore, but like, I've recorded, like I don't record often, but I'll record a song here and there when I really feel like it. And they definitely come out better than anything I had in the past. Part of it, is getting it produced properly. But the other part of it is actually like, feeling the song and not forcing it, not trying to make myself make a song every day. And like, when I don't feel like doing it, make one. Cause like you make a bunch of trash end of the day, if you're not having a vibe. So I feel like, the vibe is definitely a big part of it, definitely 100%. So, what is there any rappers you feel like you're going to work with in the future or?
Well, I did kind of set out because I've always been a little bit reluctant to just collaborate with just anybody. And plus, like I've had different arrangements with different managements and stuff like that. So I wasn't really able to just collaborate with anyone who I wanted to. But now that I'm back in the city and I'm back, putting more focus into music, I'm definitely, doors open. If you're talented, if you got bars, if you got skills, if you got a vibe, like shoot me over some music. I'm pretty much open to working with anyone. I just want to be able to create great music, no matter what it is, no matter if it's with someone who has 5 million followers or just 10, as long as we can make something dope, that's what it's all about in the end of the day. So
you're independent now, like fully, or?
Yeah. Now I'm fully independent, just rocking with it and just cooking up tracks. And, if anybody you want collab, hit me up. We could definitely work something out and, make a vibe happen.
All right. Awesome. So as far as like, we're both from Montreal. I don't know how big your knowledge is on the Montreal scene. Like I have a pretty big knowledge. Like, I've always listened to the French side, the English side, like everyone from the rappers that have 200 views to the ones that have like a couple 100,000 to 1 million.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember, I used to have my studio in Montreal. So I used to have Tromont Studios. So I was recording, all these guys, all the French guys, all the big English guys, they were fucking with me. And I had a really nice studio, super sick. And then when I started going to Miami more often, when I became an independent back then, I kind of let go of the studio and just brought everything back from the crib so I could focus on my own craft. But with the Montreal scene, there's definitely a lot of talent here for sure. Yeah,
there definitely is. Is there anyone like you see yourself that you want to work with out here? Or like you're just open to whoever hits you up? Or is there anyone specific who you would like to work with?
There's one artist that comes to mind right now, and the only reason why I'm a little bit reluctant to say is 'cause I think he might have moved to Toronto, or I don't know, but
whatever.
but Spang Squire. So we were talking last week. We're talking about doing something. I already sent him over an open verse, waiting for him to send it back. So he was someone who. Toronto. He did. Okay. Shout out Toronto taking all the Montreal man.
Walk on.
But Spang.
You talked about networking and that stuff, so it's probably a good move for him. Like the cities have around the same population, but when you consider the amount of people here that just speak French, they're not going to listen to no English music. It's like we have a city that's like a tenth the size.
Absolutely. And Spang Squire has always been someone who I really fucked with, musically super talented. And, it's been years we've been talking about doing something. We never got down to it. So I think this year should be the one.
That's dope. I have to be honest, I'm not super familiar with his music, but the name sounds familiar. I'm sure if I like played a track or something, like I would know who it was, to be honest with you. Like there's just so many people, you know? All right. Awesome. So it like, let's go into like smaller artists out here. What advice would you really give them? Like, you know, like let's say like a smaller artist out here wants to do a track with you or wants to, you know, start building some of the same connections you got. What are the first like most basic steps? Because that's where most people are here, especially in the English rap scene. Like they have to stop just having videos on YouTube and start taking steps more into the industry. What would you recommend they do to do something like that?
I mean, I would say, you know, keep putting your videos on YouTube. Be confident, you know, before doing anything, make sure you're 100% about it. You're confident. You can, you know, stand up for yourself and give it your 110%. You know, don't stop. You know, I'm not in a position where I feel like I've made it or whatever. And, you know, I still believe that, you know, you'll continue. If you continue, you'll arrive. So just keep telling yourself that, and don't let anybody put you down. Don't let anybody, don't succumb to anybody's judgment. Stay true to who you are as an artist and what you believe in and what you believe your path is and what your message to the people should be. And don't let anybody else tell you what your sound is, and just, you know, stick to what you feel is right in your heart, and, you know, just have fun making music. And if you're meant to blow up, you're going to blow up, man. Come on. It's 2022. There's people blowing up out of their closets, you know, singing on TikTok. So you never know what could happen, and, you know, just have fun with it. That's all I could really say. 'Cause, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself either. You know, you don't have to be Kanye West tomorrow. You know, you can work your way up and have fun doing it.
That's dope. That's smart. And like, yeah, I definitely think nowadays if someone has like a really hot song, or, you know, if they have good music, it's for sure important to have the visuals to it. It's hard to blow up off just a song nowadays, but if you have a good song and you know, spend the time and the money to get proper visuals done to it, and you put it in the right place, which what I tell a lot of Montreal artists, and they don't listen to me, is I'm like, yo, spend a couple $100 and get your video posted on a big American platform. There's a lot of them.
That's another thing, like, just warning to up and coming artists, because like I've been victim of this way too many times, and it's like watch out for the scams out there too. Like, people are gonna try to sell you a fucking dream. You know, people are gonna say, "Oh, I'm friends with this and that. We'll get you featured here, but you got to send us like $2,500." You know, just watch out for the shady people in the industry, because like, it's not a myth. Like, there's shady ass people in this fucking industry, and anyone will do whatever it takes to try to take your money. So,
well, yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure you've had it, bro. You post one thing and you have people in your inbox trying to like sell you the craziest shit ever, trying to get you to believe this, and they're going to give you a record deal if you send them $200. And it's like, bro, how does that make any sense? And like, yeah, there's a lot of craziness. And definitely, like, if people are going to invest in themselves and they don't know the person directly, like, do your research and, like, you know, try and talk to their manager. And like, if you're trying to get something put on a big like American YouTube page, go online and find out what their actual like contact info is, and like, for sure, you know, go talk to them, you know, and like make sure you're sending the money to the right place, because like those type of things, there's a lot. Yeah, you're right, there's a lot of scams, but like I think that stuff, if you get your stuff in the right place, it can help people a lot, especially in the scene we have here if you're English.
Absolutely. It goes back to what I was saying before. Fucking do your own research.
100%.
Saying it for your, you know, for your pocket, because your pocket's going to thank me later.
Awesome, fam. So, yeah, is there anything else you want to get into? You want to talk a little bit about like the song you just released? It was last night, I believe, right?
Yeah, so I dropped Ball Harbor last night. It's produced by CMG Breezy, so the same guy who produced the track Down in the DMs by Yo Gotti. So that track's a banger. I got a few other songs with Breezy, who produced them too, that should be coming out soon. You can stream Ball Harbor anywhere. And honestly, subscribe to my YouTube, follow me on Spotify. For those who don't know me, just tap in, because definitely have a lot of cool music coming. Some sick visuals coming too that I'm not going to cap. They're a little bit older because I took like a 2-year break from music. So I'm going to drop my old shit that I have in the vault before I start dropping the new stuff. But shit's bangers, shit's a vibe. And just for everyone who's out there, like,
yeah, the track you just released, bro, it's one of my favorites that you made. Like, I think the one with Melly and stuff's got to be the number one, but like this one's probably my number 2. So yeah, I've covered everything I got on my list here. Is there anything else you want to go over? I don't want to make this too long.
No, I guess the last thing I want to say, I just want to shout out to everybody in Toronto. Everybody in Toronto, there's no beef between Montreal and Toronto. I feel like people think that there's like beef Montreal, Toronto. When I'm in the States, everyone's like, yo, you from Toronto? I'm like, nah, I'm from Montreal. They're like, what's Montreal? There's no beef. We're from Canada. We represent Canada. I love all my homies that are out in Toronto. All my homies that are from Toronto. I got family in Toronto. Just want to say, I fuck with all you. And all the music scene, the whole music scene in Toronto, like, just seeing in the past 10 years, like, what it's became, people are going hard as fuck in Toronto, and I feel like the best music coming out of Canada right now is coming out of Toronto. So just shout out T-Dot. Shout out everybody who's fucking with the movement since day one. And shout out to you guys. We love hip hop. Alex Gez Bandz. Thank you guys for having me here. And it was definitely fucking sick and down to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we appreciate it, bro. And yeah, Toronto is definitely the mecca of hip hop in Canada right now. Like, maybe in French it's Montreal, but in English it's definitely Toronto, and for the rest of Canada. So yeah, sure. Bro, we appreciate having you here. Great interview. Appreciate everything, bro. I hope you're blessed. I hope everything's going blessed with you, and let me know whenever you're dropping music.
Sure, we'll link up soon, and we'll smoke a spliff, hit a studio or something. You already know, catch a vibe.
Yeah, bro. I'm in Montreal always, bro, and I know you're back in the city now, eh?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, fam. I'll hit you in the DMs for that for sure.
Gang, man. Well, thanks for having me on, brother.
No worries. Respect for the interview.